Hello readers, here's another YouTube about characters from my novels. This one features Mr. Toad, so called because he actually resembled a toad. It also includes an obnoxious queen known as Betty, and it also includes a nice little fat man called Dolly. On the front cover of Scruffy Chicken you see a cyclist, that's me, dwarfed by two craggy moss-covered rocks, each profiling ugly faces. Look carefully. You'll see a toad looking at an old hag. The hag was Betsitch Betty. Now then, Toad was the very essence of old-fashioned Englishness in its purest form. He was as salty and as vulgar as a seaside postcard.
I was in that cottage all day long, all as big as a dinner plate, and never refused once. As I always say, there's corn in Egypt. Hee 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 hee.
Spiteful little laugh following each boast. Well, anyway, you know, the best times in my life were not in the company of intolerant chickens. They despised him. No. The best times were when we were together like two naughty little boys being tossed and blown about on the North Sea, on board the Bridlington Belle. Happy memories under a perfect blue sky. I didn't know it at the time. You don't, do you, until you're older. But those precious moments back in 1965, they were the beginning of a lifelong friendship. Nay, a love affair. A love affair which would last into the 21st century. Toad. Toad was quaint, Toad was funny, a bundle of fun, a barrel of laughs. He represented an amusing character in caricature, perhaps one of the last of the time. I first heard about him in the company of a little camp queen called Dolly. Dolly, the famous Dolly of Derby, an obese rotundity. He don't like to be unkind, but he actually did look like a tea cosy on top of a ball. Dolly. Yeah, it was a perfect name for this dolly-tub creature who, with full fat lips, spoke nicely, with beautiful round vowels, nice soft voice. I liked Dolly. He was nice. He took me to a little terrace cottage of another strange man, a nasty man, a washed-up drag act actually, the infamous Betsitch Betty, so called because he lived on Betsitch Lane in Belper. Do you know, he was the ugliest man I have ever seen.
Hello, Dolly,
he said in an effeminate tone.
Who's this then?
Pointing at me.
Oh, I say, Dolly, you've been robbing cradle.
Well, I was a teenager still then. His features and colouring had me utterly transfixed. Discoloured skin was tightly pulled across a hideously sharp bone structure. It was difficult to describe such a repulsive facial tint. At times it seemed to be livid, at other times pallid, most unhealthy. In full spate of chatter, that horrible face was mesmerising. In a common accent, the mouth contorted and distorted as it painfully heaved forth its words. It was like, well, you know, it was like the mouth went all over his face. He sort of talked like that. Possibly from a broken jaw which deformed from side to side, causing the full countenance to twist and writhe. I was amused, yes, but also repelled. In that mobile face, mark you, I detected viciousness in that moving flesh, its kinks and its warps. He steered the subject to a certain Mr. Toad.
You know, Dolly, he never talks to me. He looks grotesque, he does.
The hideous continued to pass judgment on the hideous.
It's right. He looks just like a toad, ugly as sin. Have you seen him in that horrible car?
Oh yes, said Dolly. I've told him to get a different car, if only to change the number plate. For cottaging, you understand. Cottaging means going from toilet to toilet.
Lives in them smelly lavatories,
said Betty, addressing me. Well, Dolly went on, that ugly little car, it doesn't help. It's the pugnacious way he's huddled over the wheel. It rather suits him, actually. That car looks like a slug.
Toot, 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 toot,
added Betty by way of sound effects.
You have to get out of the way before he knocks you over.
Oh yes, he does like his toot. All part of his pushy personality, you know. Eventually I gathered that the pupils of the Herbert Strutt Grammar School in Belper, many years before, christened their odd little music master Mr. Toad. According to Dolly, he was not only a very talented musician, but he had other delightful talents to offer. You should let me introduce you to him. Dolly's voice dropped. He became conspiratorial. It's not what he looks like, it's what he can do for you, Betty. Now then. This was uttered in a deep purr of strong significance, as the fat man, with wide orbicular eyes, head cocked on one side, advised his friend after the style of a parent giving sage advice to a child. To emphasize, Dolly raised his finger. Now then, how many times have I told you? What do they say about Mr. Toad? You were on the front row when they were given out. He's a big lad, you know. He's especially good at what you like, Betty. Betsy Betty now was getting interested. His body writhed in anticipation. His face twisted, his crooked mouth became gymnastic.
Ooh, I say. Oh, I sometimes think, Dolly, if somebody would just give me one, just do it to me. Oh, it'd be grand, it would.